Welcome again to the Career Coaching Experience. I have with me my co-host Daniella Rinaldo. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well. It's been a rough week, but I had some great news yesterday, and I will tell you later.
Okay, great. We'll get to that. So where we left off was Daniella was having some issues at her current position. She had pretty much decided that it's time to look to either make a change or maybe do something entrepreneurial. We talked a little bit about the possibility of doing coaching. So we talked about a resume, redoing the resume. So just give us a brief update, Danielle.
Okay, so I've been having a lot of trouble with work. Bless you. And I didn't know if I was just too comfortable with the position or whatever was going on with ownership. And so, long story short, I do not have another option but to move on from where I am. I had to somehow I ended up agreeing to training my replacement, which I found out very last minute. And at that point, I thought to myself, where did I go wrong? Was it me? I've basically worked so hard running this company on my own. Where did things go wrong? And I was very upset. I know I've even reached out to you. I'm like, Rob, help me. Where do I go? How do I communicate? There's a lack of communication with even with the ownership. And so I was feeling very insecure. And as much as I was working on my resume, I didn't know what was going on at that point. So I started training my replacement, and yet even though it was a little upsetting, yesterday I got the best news for me to make me feel better, which was the owner who basically saw the company wasn't running, the way he wanted it to be. It really wasn't me. And they actually asked me that after my training, if I could even stay, however I want to work remotely, continue the training, but that they need me, and that they've seen that I've been the one running the entire thing. And in fact, they've apologized.
Wow. So how does it all make you feel?
It makes me feel good. I know that I still have to move on, but it gave me a clarification as to my strengths and that I should remain confident. And it's such a growing, I'm growing. It's a big curve for me because I've been feeling like I'm working so hard. I feel like I've been using all of my skills and nothing was good enough.
Right. So tell me, how did you go, tell us how the separation happened. Like, did they call you? Did they meet with you and say, was it email? Did they say, hey, the company's in trouble, we don't have any more money, we're going to have to let you go? And then tell us about how that all went down.
Yeah. So basically, I ended up getting a call on a Sunday night. Daniella, close the operation. We need to close it for the week. We need to decide if we're going to continue with this operation or if we're going to continue or if we're just going to close. I don't know what happened with ownership. It was a whole big thing. So at this point, I'm emailing my team. Hey guys, just want to let you know, due to financial circumstances, we are closing for the week. Stay tuned, yada, yada. I'm called in for a meeting. And basically, this meeting consisted of shaking hands with my replacement, finding out that there's changes in ownership. They want to bring in their team. And then I was basically not really asked, but it was kind of like, oh, and then you can train your replacement. And that right there hit me in the stomach, because I was thinking, first of all, you're telling me I will no longer be working there. And now I have to train the person who's taking my position.
All right, so let's take a step back then. So I thought that they informed you that the company was possibly closing and going to close for a week. So why would they be hiring a replacement then? I don't get it.
Right. So I didn't get it either. And I think that my bosses maybe are taking a step back and now someone else is coming in. And
So it's a change of ownership. Well, not a change of ownership, but a change of senior management, it sounds like, right?
exactly. But how was I supposed to know?
Well,
I
they
didn't.
probably, it sounds like, well, do you think they conflated you or got you mixed up or had you associated with the previous ownership or with the previous senior management? Do you think that
Yeah.
that's what it was?
Yes, and that is why that call yesterday, actually, the man that I'm training, he said to me, Daniella, I don't know how you did it. How long did it take you to do this? I need everything that you've created. Actually, I just got a message. Is there any way you can please stay with us even after you leave? And that right there, I thought, Rob, consulting, could that be something in my future? And
Exactly. Yeah.
it felt really, really good because I've been lost. I've been in the dark and I haven't been, no one has ever really been updating me. And
Well, I think we got to, I mean, it sounds like we've got a couple of pathways. So let me make sure that I understand where you are. So you were terminated without cause because of the apparent reason that the ownership was considering at least closing down operations for at least a week. Okay, so I get that. And then it turns out that your replacement shows up and you're supposed to replace him. And then
I trained him.
yeah, and then you're supposed to train him. So it seems like it is in fact a going concern. The company is going to continue operations. So I guess what happened is they realized the value that you bring in terms of management and leadership and on the operational side that they want you to stay now, right? So,
Yes.
all right. So
Potential stay, not as in, I don't know if a complete, like being an employee there, but we're working remotely as, and being compensated.
right. So I was going to ask you, have they addressed how that would work? So let's say, are they going to pay you a severance or anything like that, or like a bonus? For doing
So
the change?
that was a tough time negotiating that. It was more of a, if you train, you'll get paid and then you'll get a bonus. And I thought to myself, no way. I have no idea if I will even get paid at this point. I want a bonus up front. At least it will give me, what's the word? It starts with an I. Incentive, right?
Yeah.
To want to train this
Of course,
guy.
yeah.
And we couldn't really agree on that, right? This is interesting, I promise. And so at one point I said, you know what? I run payroll before going into the office. It has to be submitted. And since you can't agree of giving it to me up front, then I do the training, I run payroll again, and I get half of the bonus after my 2 weeks. And the first day of me training, I actually ended up getting half of it up front.
Oh, good. Okay. I think
Yeah.
that's a good compromise. Yeah. That way you both have skin in the game. So let's talk about then what happens after your initial termination period, the grace period, the severance period is over, that they want you to stay on, right?
Remotely, they said I can even do it remotely.
Yeah. Is there any time period that they indicated, like a couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months, or for as long as you want?
This was really brought up in such a, as I was training, it was from me training, trying to explain something to, oh my gosh, I don't know how you did this. I can't, I don't know.
Right. Who is the person that actually expressed an interest in
Owner,
allowing you to stay on after
owner, which is why
the
it was
owner?
so-
Okay.
Yeah.
Did the owner talk to you about how much money he would pay you, or would you be a consultant, or just continue on as an employee or a contractor, or what?
Yeah, no, so this is something I would also have to speak with you about as to how to approach the situation, because this was all brought up in passing as to Daniella. He wants to know, would you be interested in maybe staying on remotely and still helping the company? Of course, you would be compensated. And I said, wow, I will definitely have to think about it. Let's see where I am after the training. And I would like to speak to the owner about it, not my replacement who has no idea what's going
Right,
on.
right.
So no, I
How
have
long
not.
do you think that, how long do you think the training period is going to be?
I think I can really condense everything to 1 month,
So a month, okay, all
a
right.
month, but
So, all right, so a month, so have you
a
thought about
little over a month.
yeah, have you thought about the possibility of staying on, not in the capacity of an employee, but as a consultant,
Yes,
as an advisor,
which is
as a
why,
coach maybe?
yes.
Do you think your replacement needs actual training, like nuts and bolts on the systems, or is it more like he needs some executive coaching on leadership? I mean, what do you think he really needs at this point?
I'm still observing him. But I think that I'm making it pretty easy for him because I created the systems and procedures and how the company is structured and running from the second you walk in to, you leaving. And that's with all of every single thing, the accounting, the payroll, marketing, everything. I mean, he actually called me an organized freak yesterday. He's like, holy crap, like any question I have, everything you created, the answer is there. Someone can come in,
Yeah,
have your manual and, but when it comes to leadership and handling the team, that's hard.
yeah. Do you think he's a capable leader, or do you think he's more of a nuts and bolts manager?
I don't know.
Don't know yet. Yeah. So would you consider a situation where you would, finish out the training and then stay on as an advisor? And if so, what do you think your value would be staying on as an advisor or a consultant?
I think that even just to start off, let's say if an employee or 2 or 3 of my employees end up saying, you know what, I found something, I'm no longer going to be here. Now it's time for him to start interviewing, right? He can interview whoever he thinks is best suitable for the role and for the company, but I don't know if he may have that that expertise in seeing how the personalities kind of mix, and that's where I come in
Right.
terms of observing and really taking a step back to appreciate the weaknesses of the employee and the strengths. And I think that's why the team is so strong, which he actually noticed.
Right. So your
I think both.
highest and best value would be in helping him in the acquisition and the retaining of talent, right?
Yeah.
Right. How about in terms of like the operations or systems or process? Would you be of help there?
Yes. That's that's one thing I think I've learned for myself, and I'm actually very happy that yesterday that little sentence of, wow, oh my gosh, you created all of this. Yeah, this
If
is
so,
company's running with my system and procedures. And
yeah, it sounds like if I could try and attach a term to it, like an organizational consultant, right?
yeah,
Yeah. So, yeah, what you may want to do is just start, thinking about, this organizational consultant, like start coming up with a list, like keep track on a daily basis, like in a notepad. Like I carry around one of these notepads with me all the time, I carry this thing around in my back pocket, actually. I'm continually taking notes
yeah,
on stuff, So one of the things I would say is as you're teaching him and training him and mentoring and coaching and doing all the things that you're gonna have to do over the next month, keep track of a list of things that you're doing, but not only things you're doing, but ways you're creating value for the organization. And then what you probably want to do is maybe a couple of weeks into this, when you understand what the flow is, you could put together an email, and I can help you with that. Put together some of these bullet points and come up with maybe, I don't know, 6 to 10 at most of things that
yeah.
that you're currently doing, and that could be the basis of a consulting contract. Because what it seems like to me is this could work out to be to your advantage, because what I see is he's going to need you. There's so many things that you do in the company that he probably doesn't even realize. That, once you're in there as a consultant, as an advisor, he's going to want to keep you there at the right price, of course. And we could talk about how much you're worth, what do you want to charge him? But I think as you continue to add value in these specific areas, it could be a long-term consulting contract, and maybe he'll just keep you on as an advisor, which has a lot of advantages, tax advantages, and gives you flexibility to do other things. And then maybe what you could do at the same time is think about some other things that you could be doing at the same time, which kind of leads me into my next thing. Would you consider, out of all the things that we've talked about over the past 7 episodes about your skills and attributes, we talked about coaching, we talked about advising, we talked about teaching, we talked about, you're empathetic, you're good interpersonal communication skills. I'm just thinking maybe this could be an on-ramp to a situation where you're no longer an employee, but you're self-employed as a consultant. And maybe you could do this as your first consulting gig, and then you could maybe pick up another one or another one or another one as people get to know you as an organizational consultant. And you can end up being maybe an organizational coach or an organizational advisor, because advising and coaching and mentoring and consulting are all different things. Consulting is you're just imparting information. You're telling people, here's how to do it, A to Z, here's the playbook, I'm going to walk you through it. Coaching is what I'm doing. It's really empowering and enabling you to actually do something on your own because it's your idea. So it's probably too early to tell if this guy needs coaching or if he needs consulting. But how does that sound to you? Using this as a stepping stone,
Yeah, that's why when I thought of you, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been speaking to Rob about maybe being consulting, using, because all of these, I guess, attributes and everything. I started thinking, like, where do I fall? What do I look for? I mean, I'm looking constantly on LinkedIn. I'm looking on Glassdoor for positions. And I'm thinking, okay, I can do that, but is this really the job for me? And then when I started realizing, even with training, holy crap, I created all of this from nothing. This is great. This is something that I can implement not only to the urgent care, but maybe to another company that's completely different.
Well, the one thing that you are really good at, well, I should say this, the one area that you have a lot of experience in is business and organizational consulting. But I think the other pathway, and I think you would be even better at this, would be doing it from a coaching perspective. So one of the things that you could consider is, while you're doing this and still making money, you may have a little bit of free time. Maybe you could consider testing the waters in the area of coaching, because you can actually take a coaching class. I'm licensed by the ICF, it's the International Coaching Federation. So there's all sorts of coaching. I'm sure there's a lot of coaching classes, coaching organizations right there in Brooklyn, in New York, that you could go to, 3 times a week at night or something, and you can get your coaching license. What that does is a couple of things. Number one, it adds a skill set that not many people have, because coaching is way, way different than consulting. It's way, way different than mentoring. It's different than instruction. It's different than training. Coaching is enabling and empowering people. And I know from my interactions with you, Daniella, over the past few months, is that you're really good in enabling and empowering people. You have a dynamic, sort of a magnetic personality. So I could see you sitting down with somebody and just coaching them up, but you have to know how to do it. Coaching is a skill. You just can't decide, I'm going to be a coach. You have to go through the training, usually, 8 to 10 weeks or maybe 6 weeks. But what I'm thinking about is, one thing you could consider this as a big opportunity for you. This is a door that's open, okay? And you only get these opportunities once in a great while. So maybe one thing you could do is consider, taking on the contract to stay on as an advisor, as a trainer, whatever it is, right? At the same time, get your coaching license.
Yes, I'm looking at, into
or at least go to school for coaching. And then the great thing about it is, since you have this consulting gig, while you're taking the coaching class, you could actually try these coaching techniques out on people that in your company, right? Like the guy that replaced you. And then you can start to try it out, and you may feel like, wow, I'm really good at this. People respond to me. and you could turn this thing into a coaching gig. Or maybe you'll find out, I'm not really into coaching. It's not for me, but I'm a great consultant, because consulting and coaching are two different things. So would that be something that you would consider?
Definitely. I've been thinking a lot about it. And you're right, this opportunity, I think it's really great. And I think that if I sign up for a life coaching or coaching class, I can implement everything in one and then see what I can make out of it.
Yeah. So what I think we ought to do then is if it's good with you, as sort of a homework assignment, we're going to take sort of a right turn. We're talking about resumes and looking for a job. We can still talk about that, but I'm thinking, while we're on the topic, would you be willing to, invest some time between this call and next call and investigate some coaching opportunities, make some calls, and at least figure out, what are some programs out there that would be good for you? What would it be? Are there, most of these things are part-time, like you can go on weekends or you could do it at night. So I'm thinking, if you're up for it, for homework for next time, just come up with some programs, contact information, make some calls, get some information on pricing, get some information on schedules. And then next time we talk, you can share that information with me, and then we'll share the screens and we'll go over it so everybody can see like what a coaching program would typically look like. I think that would be very interesting, but
yeah,
it's only if you're interested in walking down that path and just, kicking some tires and see what it's all about.
no, absolutely. Because right now I'm just going off of natural experience, right? Like what I've walked into, what I've created, but I also need to build my resume, like what you said, and put the certifications in there. And that's what's going to make me stand out versus someone that might not have any certifications. And although I don't have it yet, to show them that I'm in the process of enrolling or in the training.
Exactly right.
That,
Because even if this doesn't, okay, let's take worst case scenario. Okay, worst case scenario, you train this guy for a couple of months or something, and you take the coaching, and for whatever reason, it doesn't work out. Okay, your fallback position, and we could talk about this too, is at the same time applying for a new position. To have a coaching designation, even if it's in progress on your resume, for a position that you're seeking, like in organizational development or HR or whatever it is, okay, would set you apart, because most people don't have coaching. Coaching is a relatively recent phenomenon. So there's a lot of people that are thinking about coaching, but there's not a lot of coaches out there. So it would be something that would set you apart at minimum. And then worst case scenario is you would acquire skills that you would not otherwise have. I mean, in my recruiting business, I use coaching skills all the time, even if I'm not charging people for it. In my daily conversations with people, I see myself acting more as a coach than a consultant. And for a lot of people, that's important, because I'm no longer selling something to them. I'm actually helping them. I'm helping them improve their lives. And I think I get more business because of that. So worst case scenario, you would have acquired a lifelong skill in coaching.
absolutely.
It'll help your relationship with Nick. It'll help your relationship with other people, because you're no longer trying to tell people what to do. You're kind of planting seeds and let them get to the same conclusion, which is more powerful, because now they own it. They extremely own it.
Right. That's funny you say that too, because yesterday, actually, during the training, I didn't butt heads, right? But at one point I had to basically say, I'm not here to make you feel that I'm taking full control over the company still. I want the employees to only report to me. I'm basically trying, like what you said, plant the seed, and you can create whatever you want from there. But I am organizing you to succeed, right? I'm not setting you up for failure, but I'm not trying to control, like it's my way or the highway, And at first he was like, well, I don't know if I'm going to be using this. Maybe this will change. And I'm like, okay.
Here's a powerful way that you could communicate that in one sentence. What's this guy's first name?
Should I?
Let's call him Jim Smith, right? So Jim Smith, you could say, Mr. Smith, when I'm what I'm trying to do is empower and enable you to do this for yourself so that you could paint the picture, create the sculpture on your own so that it's yours. It's not mine. I'm just trying to enable and empower you
Yeah.
to do these things. So however you want to do it is fine with me. I'm just trying to help you. And then,
No, yeah.
and then you can say, you know, I want your ideas, you know, it's got to be yours. So I just want you to start thinking about how I would do this, not how, you know, I would do this myself. You see what I'm saying? So then you start to empower him and he becomes emboldened. He becomes more, you know, he's going to own what he does. It makes him more powerful. So you're basically ceding control, you know,
Yeah.
over to him.
Right. Right.
But if you think about it, it's perceived control, because in that situation, who really has control? You,
Me?
right? Yeah. You really have control because you're really controlling things. He just doesn't really know it because he's going to be coming up with his own ideas, and it's going to be his way of doing things, which is great. He feels in control, but you're ultimately in control because you're getting him to do something that he would not or otherwise do at that high level. Because when you just tell somebody to do it, it's like a little kid. You say, hey, Johnny, stop doing this or this. He'll stop for a second, but as soon as you walk away, he's gonna still steal that piece of candy from the candy jar. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if you make it feel like it's his decision, then he's not going to do it. It's the same way. I mean, you're on the right track. Just continue to think about. There's a difference between coaching and consulting. Two different things. Consulting is what everybody does. Here's how you do it. A, B, C, D. Here's the
Right.
playbook. You know, coaching is your, you know, making this, you're enabling and empowering this individual to do it on their own, much more powerful. And that's what I think your skill lies. From observing you the last 7 weeks on this show, I see you as more of a person that can use your high level communication skills and your empathy and your smarts to enable and empower other people to do things that they may never have been able to do. That's a coaching skill. A lot of people can do consulting. And I think for that reason, I think it'd be a great idea if you took this opportunity to investigate and participate in coaching.
Absolutely. And even with the coaching, it's the way you communicate, right? And if I would have even said, listen, I'm here to empower you, maybe that would have helped more with communicating, because, and we were, not that we were butting heads, but you're right. It's like, not that we were fighting over control, but it's like, no, I'm the manager now. You're training me, you're doing me a favor. And at that point, you know, I'm very organized. So I was going in with an agenda. I'm like, you know, this is what he needs to know. This is the priority. And then it ended up being where he wanted control over the agenda, but that agenda was A to Z, 1 to 10, and it was just all over the place.
Yeah, I know.
And
Yeah.
the way that I went about it was, you know what? I'm going to take a step back. Let's go with his agenda. And yesterday he said to me, oh my gosh, I am so sorry that I tried to take control over everything. He's like, let's follow your agenda. And I said, let's follow my agenda, but let's implement your ideas. We're a team.
Exactly right. That's
But
enabling.
at first, oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, you know, people's egos get involved. They get their hair up in a tizzy. You know, I think you handle it correctly. You have an agenda, but your way forward is you kind of keep that agenda to yourself, and you ask him, so what do you think?
Right.
How do you think we should attack this? What are some of your ideas? What are your, you know, where do you want to end up? You know, ask him, you know, where do you want to end up? And then let's come up with a pathway, you know. It's like
Right.
building a highway. You want to have exit ramps and you want to have rest stops, and it's you know, I think at the end of the day, you handled it correctly. You wanted it to be his idea. So when he understands it's going to be my idea, he relaxes and he you know, he takes off the mask and pulls down the blinders, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a normal thing, you know. It's normal for people to do that. I mean, we're all human beings. It's up to you as a trained coach to kind of get him back inside the rails,
Can I ask you a question with coaching? Do you
Yeah.
think that in order to be a successful life coach, you have to be able to really get along with every single personality, or be able to maintain, like,
I don't
accept
think,
every single personality, I guess?
not necessarily, because sometimes you'll coach somebody and they'll just be uncoachable. And you have to know when to cut ties.
Yeah.
There's a couple of minefields in coaching. Okay. At one end of the spectrum, okay. So you have a spectrum, right? So at one end of the spectrum, you could find somebody that you're coaching, and he has his wall up, and for whatever reason, he does not want to be coached. It may be because someone told him he has to be coached, like maybe his boss said, like, you need to get some coaching in empathy, or you need to get some coaching in organizational skills, or you need to get some coaching in sales. So a lot of times people get coaching because someone has told them that they needed to get coaching. Maybe it's a spouse or something. Who knows? Okay, but you will find people that are uncoachable. So you don't want to bash your head against the wall with these people. So what you do is to find out if they're really a legitimate coaching candidate. Is at the end of the first coaching session, you come up with a list of things that they're going to do for the next meeting, as I did with you, right? Right. Let's come, for the next meeting, can you come up with some, contacts for coaching organizations, investigated how much it would cost, how often you have to go, and we'll talk about next time. So if you don't show up next time with that information, then it's a strong indication to me that you're not really, interested in being coaching. You don't have enough time for it, whatever it is. So you have to quickly identify that in probably the first or the second meeting. And then you just tell the person, I'm sorry, but, I don't see this really being a productive exercise for either one of us, particularly you, because you're not bought in. So I can't help you. Boom. That's it. So you may not get along with that person.
Right.
At the other end of the spectrum, there's the other people, the other 5% that you'll coach, and you'll develop a very strong personal relationship. Because coaching is like marriage counseling almost. You tend to talk about really confidential things. So you always have to be careful about, you can never get too close to somebody, because then it could develop into like a romantic relationship. So you've got that to worry about. So you've got, like, you become actually too close, too cozy, too personally involved with somebody, that you lose the objectivity.
Right.
Because in a lot of cases, what you do in coaching is you share things that are going wrong in your life, in your marriage, at work. And that's how romantic relationships start, when you start sharing all that stuff. So, and at the other end of the spectrum, you got people who just aren't coachable. So to answer your question, sometimes it's not going to be the right personality. Sometimes it's not going to be the right person. So you don't have to be all things to all people, but you have to be one thing. And you always have to be this one thing. You have to be authentic. So you can't try and mold yourself to be somebody so that you get along with Jim Smith, or you can't mold yourself to get along with Sally Johnson. You know what I mean? You have to be yourself, because people want authenticity, because our culture and society, business world, has so few authentic people that when you finally meet one, it's refreshing. So you don't have to get along with the person. You don't have to be directly aligned, like politically, socially, ethically, ethnically, anything. But you just have to be, it has to be a productive coachee relationship. That's the thing. So personalities, it certainly helps if you can recognize someone's personality, because if it's an introvert or extrovert, or, ENFP versus, all these Myers-Briggs personality, what'll happen is you'll become a student of the personality types. You'll be able to resonate more with others. Like with some people, you want to talk more, some people you want to listen more. So in terms of personalities, you have to be authentic. So does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, it's funny because the way others can communicate, someone else, let's say that didn't have my personality, would basically say, go, you know what, yourself, right? Like
Yeah.
even me, it was my second day of the training, and I really strongly believe he didn't mean this in a negative way, but he walks in and he's like, wow, let's bow down to you. So you're not this ego type of woman who just thinks that, the company, and I'm thinking to myself, do I take that as in a positive way, or,
Yeah.
and then it's like, oh, wow, you can say you're really organized. Wow, these systems are great. And instead it's like, wow, you're an organized freak. And I'm thinking, like, what?
Yeah.
Like, there's a different way of saying it. But in
Yeah.
my, but someone else would be like, what makes me a freak about that? Right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a
You
way
never,
of communicating.
yeah. I think there's so much going on in people's lives. They're so stressed.
Oh,
They're pretty much, they're not as thoughtful as you would like. So you have to let a lot of that stuff just roll off your back until you get to know them. That's part of being in your position, is you have to let stuff roll off your back.
oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So let's do this then. Our time's about up. We can talk about the resume a little bit next time, but I think let's focus on this recent development. So I'm thinking, if you're up for it, investigate coaching. Let's come up with a list of coaching organizations, coaching classes, the details, how much it would cost, how many times a week. I think the audience actually would be very interested to find this out too, because I know I get a lot of phone calls and emails all the time
Yeah.
asking about, hey, Rob, how do I get involved with coaching? Or what is coaching? And there's different kinds of coaching. So,
Right.
I think your coach, you could be a life coach, you could be a fitness coach, a longevity coach. All sorts of stuff. But I think you would probably want to focus on, for the sake of this week, let's focus on like business coaching, organizational coaching. If you want to look at life coaching, that's fine too. But most of these organizations are just about coaching. It's not specifically life coaching, business coaching, executive coaching. Most of these organizations will teach you how to be a coach, how to get certified in a coach. Then
Yeah.
as you progress in the course, you'll start to specialize. You'll start to gravitate towards, oh yeah, this life coaching is really interesting, or maybe it's marriage coaching, or fitness coaching, or business coaching, organizational coaching.
Okay.
You can usually charge up to $500 an hour, so it can be very lucrative. But
Yeah.
and some people are not good at it, and some people are really good at it. And if it's for you, your business could grow very, very rapidly, and you could be your own boss. But I'm not going to steal the thunder of the course. I want you to do the homework, because the next time we meet, I want to make sure that you're extremely owning this and you're bought into it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So let's do that then. And then,
Okay.
How's that sound? Okay.
Yes, very good. I'm excited. I already actually started looking, but I think the business coaching, organizational, it brought a different perspective now.
Okay.
So,
All right, good. So that's good. We'll end it here. Great seeing you again. We'll
You
look
too.
forward to really getting involved in the 5 W's, the who, what, why, where, and how of coaching next week.
Yes, I'm excited. Thank you,
All right.
Rob.
Okay. Thanks, Danielle.